Oh, wow, we're just figuring this out now? Oh my God, all the information. The first topic today I want to get into is a new study, a new report that just came out. This is from the Daily Mail. We're going to talk about this in a second, but it's pretty epic. So as you come on in through the door, make sure you drop a like, make sure you hit the hashtag fuck average, but check out this fucking article. All right. We're going to get into this right now. We'll use this for our tip today because it's important. Check out this absolute shitstorm. Let's get some drum rolls here.
What's in the box?
All right. Check this out. Check this out. This is from the Daily Mail. And the report says half the world's population, half the world's population will be overweight by 2050 due to unhealthy diets, report predicts. Now, in the United States, I believe it's 2/3 of the population is overweight and about 40+% are obese. That's like the current numbers, but I know these numbers change, depends on who you ask and what study. But we know that it's getting worse. It's not getting better. And this is why I keep on saying that if you only want to stick around and talk about calories in, calories out, oh, as long as you count your calories, weigh your macros, that shit doesn't work. That's why it's getting worse and worse. We have to focus on food quality and other things that are more important and things that are actually going to help people reinforce their healthy lifestyles, like the 7 pillars. If we're not focusing on the 7 pillars, then what are we actually focusing on? We're focusing on shit that's not really the most effective. You have to make sure you have that foundation. So that being said, let's read through this article. Global eating habits have set the world on course to have more than 4 billion people overweight by 2050. New research predicts 1.5 billion of those people will be obese. 1.5. Meanwhile, 500 million people will likely be underweight and living at the edge of starvation. Sounds wonderful. The Potsdam Institute for Climate Impact found that, if current trends in what and how people eat in various parts of the world continue, already wide gaps in nutrition will only grow into gulfs over the coming 30 years. In order to predict how global nutrition will change in the coming decades, the first of its kind study assessed trends in the kinds of food people are eating, how populations are growing and how food is being produced and wasted. Since 1965, global consumption has been moving toward highly processed foods, high-protein meats. Nice spelling of the word meat. That's not how you spell meat, bruh. Meats with 2 E's. Get the fuck out of it. Come on, Brits. You can't even spell the word meat. Sugary products and carbohydrates. Well, there's nothing wrong with meat. We're talking about shit grain pumped meat and lean cuts of meat that are just eating muscle all the time. Anyway, so drop your thoughts down below as we go through this. Meanwhile, many populations have been skimping on vegetables, plant-based and whole foods and healthy starches, as if those are better. See, you know, there's no consensus of like actually, oh, well, a lot of those things, a lot of plant-based things should not be consumed. A lot of starches shouldn't be consumed. A lot of people shouldn't be pounding those things either, especially if you have poor metabolic health. But we'll get into that in a second. Anyway, of course, you can eat those things and not be obese. That's not the point that I was making right there. But anyway, so drop your thoughts in the comments below as we go into this a little bit more. The shift means more empty calories and high-fat diets that certainly pack on the pounds, but don't do much to actually fuel our bodies. Innovations in food science have made many of our meals manufactured rather than grown. These processing methods are cheaper, faster, and less vulnerable to the whims of weather and natural conditions, making them reliable but not actually better for our health. Oh wow, we're just figuring this out now? Oh my God, all the information. As a result, 29% of the world was already overweight by 2010 and 9% were considered obese, with a body mass index over 30. Between 2009 and 2010, 35.7% of American adults were already obese 10 fucking years ago. 10 fucking years ago. Well, don't forget, when you're saying it sounds like they're advocating for plant-based, don't forget the research here. This is from the Potsdam Institute for Climate Impact. So you know they're definitely going to be pushing plant-based stuff because of all the methane from, yeah, well, not from sustainable farms, but we're not going to get into all that. You can listen to a lot of other evidence and research that shows that that's nonsense. I can't recant it off the top of my head right now. Let's see. So 10 years ago, 35.7% of American adults were already obese. That number has risen to 42.4% by the period between 2017 and 2018, according to the CDC. Let's see. About 28% of the UK's population is now obese, and the rates are only rising in both nations and in most of the world. By 2050, the PIC report estimates that 16% of the global population will be obese and nearly half will be overweight. High rates of obesity and large populations of overweight people drive up and worsen some of the most burdensome chronic diseases in the world. Heart disease, diabetes, and being overweight is now a top risk factor for COVID-19 to turn severe or fatal. You don't say. You don't say. I'll read that again for anyone that's hard of hearing in the back. I just did an extra Thursday about vaccines not being good enough for fat people and vaccine distribution from another blue hair. I covered it one of her. Get the fuck out of here, right?
Matt Damon.
Let me just repeat that. High rates of obesity and large populations of overweight people drive up and worsen some of the most burdensome chronic diseases in the world. Heart disease, diabetes, and being overweight is now a top risk factor for COVID-19 to turn severe or fatal. Demand for food will surge by 50% overall, with demand for milk and meat doubling as wealthier nations siphon resources from poorer ones, where a growing number of people will be underfed, even starving. Well, don't drink so much milk. You'll help a lot. Quote, there's enough food in the world. The problem is that the poorest people on our planet have simply not the income to purchase it, said lead study author Dr. Benjamin Bodirski. And in rich countries, people don't feel the economic and environmental consequences of wasting food. In fact, waste is only expected to increase between now and 2050. These trends, in turn, could lead to an acceleration in global warming and increasing food scarcity. Quote, the increasing waste of food and the rising consumption of animal protein mean that the environmental impact of our agricultural system will spiral out of control, says Bodirski. Good name. Whether greenhouse gases, nitrogen pollution, or deforestation, we are pushing the limits of our planet and exceed them. He and his team argued that using the same tracts of land and resources currently dedicated to producing unnutritious food to instead grow nutritious produce could be a win-win, improving human health and sparing the planet from harmful emissions. I love how this is science. Like, wow, you know, if we don't produce just unnutritious food, right? If we actually produce better food, if we instead grow nutritious produce, it could be a win-win. Who's discovering this? Wow, you don't say. You don't say. You don't say. Nutritious produce could be a win, could be beneficial. Wow. You can really dance. Quote, using the same area of land, we could produce much more plant-based food for humans than animal-based food. All right, now we're going off the rails here. See, now, how'd that turn all of a sudden? You see this bullshit? This is fucking bullshit. You see how this article turned from like, wow, this is going to be some information. And then it just all of a sudden goes into this anti-meat tirade. We knew what was going to fucking happen. We knew this. You could tell from the climate thing earlier, right? I didn't read through the whole thing yet. So we could produce much more plant-based food for humans than animal-based food. To put it in a very simplistic way, if more people eat more meat, there's less plant-based food for the others. Plus, we need more land for food production, which can lead to forests being cut down and greenhouse gas emissions rise as a consequence of keeping more animals. Get the fuck out of here. I'm not eating grass and grains. I'm not eating that shit. Get fucked. Let's focus on the most important thing. Stop pretending like not eating meat all of a sudden the earth is just going to fucking double in size and everyone's going to jerk off on rainbows and shit.